Tip number 1, you want to start with an odd number. So essentially you're going to choose 3 to 5 different cheeses or charcuteries for your board, depending on how many people you have. So make sure when you get started, think of odds. My name is Jordan and this is Amazing Grace Boards, and the reason I've created this channel is because I have a passion and love for meat and cheese. So if that is you, then please consider hanging out with me here on this channel. Subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment, like, do all the things or any of the things you'd like to do. I'd love to connect with you. So let's jump into the next 9 tips, but also stick around till the end because I've got 2 bonus tips for you. So don't miss those. Tip number 2, it's going to sound extremely simple and almost like a duh moment, but I have to say it. You want to start off with your large items first. Now, with that being said, it could be anything. It could be a cheese or a ramekin that you just think is gorgeous and want to display. Just make sure to start off with those items first. 1, you don't want to forget them. You don't want to have no room for any of those beautiful things that should be displayed and highlighted on the board. So make sure, start off with your large items first. Tip number 3, focus on seasonal produce and local products. I love when I get to go to your small business stores, find local honeys, find local jams. Those, honestly, not only are they more beautiful and just unique, but they also taste incredible. If you've ever tried local honeycomb from wherever you are, I highly recommend you look for those versus the ones that are in the store. While yes, those are easy and convenient to find, it's always a gem to find a local product. And of course, with produce, it's going to be the same mindset. When you're making these beautiful boards, you're going to have the best tasting seasonal fruits when you are working around what is fresh at the time. So strawberries, of course, those are just your summer beautiful, sweet, tasty, juicy fruits. And so again, with the fall, we're gonna look for beautiful things like persimmons and those pomegranate seeds, like all of those things, they, 1, scream the season, but 2, will taste so much better on your board. Trust me on this tip number 3. Tip number 4, keep texture and color palette in mind. Now, what I mean by that is you just want to make sure that you're not sticking to the same color palettes, especially when you're in the store. So this tip has a lot to do with when you're buying things in the market before you even get them on the board. Because I have definitely made the accident of buying these tasty crackers, meat and cheese, and then going back to my house and realizing they all have the same color hue, and it drives me crazy. So you definitely want to make sure you're bringing in some herbs and fruit. And when you are looking for crackers, meat and cheese, make sure to just look for different varieties of, for example, a goat cheese with herb de Provence versus a regular goat cheese log, or something crusted with, I think they have even like coffee crusted cheeses, or a blue cheese, or a mimolette that's a bright orange. So there's just so many options that you can avoid having the same color hue and just kind of mix it up. And so with that also, texture is very important. Of course, a goat cheese or a cheddar that's crumbled is way better than just having every single thing sliced, which slicing is beautiful and you can definitely make it look different, but you're always going to want to have a different texture when you're eating as well. Soft, hard, semi-soft, and just looking at the physical texture. So make sure, focus on color and texture when you're in the store. Tip number 5, look for high fat pockets in your charcuterie. Now, I know it's probably challenging you big time, but I want to give you a visual in your mind to see and look for the different types of charcuterie or salami in your store. So have you ever noticed that there are certain salamis, like probably like pepperoni, where it's pretty much all pinkish red? You cannot see any fat pockets whatsoever. It's almost like a flat, no texture, base color of salami. Now, those are great and delicious, but I'm telling you, I'm challenging you to look for salami with high fat pockets. They're going to be the nice creamy textures, especially when they come to room temperature, which ideally that's what you want to do. And the best flavors come out of that is look for the high fat content in your charcuterie. So you're going to see it white and pink. those are where you want to try. I'm telling you, I promise you, it tastes much better. And essentially, they're usually in the logged salami. Not all of them are that way, but you can definitely tell and notice the difference even on just the outside. Usually it's aged a little longer, and just the way that they process it, it's gonna have a higher fat content. So try it out, trust me, high fat charcuterie content. Tip number 6 is fill the empty spaces with dried nuts, dried fruit, or fresh berries. I know, again, it sounds very simple, but trust me when I say keep some random, any type of nuts that you prefer to eat on a daily basis in your pantry, always, because there will come a day, I promise you, where you will make a charcuterie board and you have no more cheese, or don't want to put your charcuterie or crackers there, whatever it might be, but you will always have empty pockets, and it just drives me crazy. So this is where all of the fun little accoutrements come in, where you dump them in the pocket, and trust me, it just works. It always looks beautiful, and everyone eats those. So again, fill your empty pockets with all the good nuts and fruits. Tip number 7, always have something salty, whether it be your cracker, some nuts, or a Cornichon pickle or olives. Just make sure to make that addition on your board. It's going to complement any item you have on there. So don't forget the salty item. Tip number 8, stick with a theme. When in doubt, if you're ever having one of those times where you're not exactly sure what you want to do, how you want to set it up, you will get so much inspiration by sticking with a theme. For example, a Spanish board, or Greek, Italian, French board, breakfast board, holiday boards. All kinds of different ideas come and stem from a theme. So if you're needing inspiration, 1, check out my channel, or 2, stick with the theme. Tip number 9 is work clockwise. Ideally, now this is a tip and it's a option. Doesn't have to happen. But the way that you ideally would build a board is you work clockwise. I guess it would be this way if you're watching. So you want to build your board in the way that people would essentially eat it. So if you want them to try the brie with the caramelized jam, you're gonna kind of put it right next to it. If you want them to have the Spanish chorizo with the quince, then you're gonna kind of just put it right next to that, below it. So if that makes sense, you're just gonna kind of ideally work clockwise. If you don't have the time to explain your board to people at a party and say, hey, try this with that, or do this with that, it's gonna taste amazing, you can tell people, work clockwise. I promise you, those things that are next to each other and around each other are going to go really well together. So try that next time. Tip number 10 is try it at room temperature. Now, I know a lot of people get so nervous with serving cheese or not knowing when to pull cheese back or charcuterie back from your grazing table. But all I can say is that you know how long you've left it out. You know what it looks like. If it starts to, get the little crust around it, that's obviously when you just want to take it out and pull it back in. But I don't think a lot of people give their cheese justice because they don't let them sit at room temperature. That's about 30 minutes before your guests arrive. And some charcuterie is the same way, because if you think about it, there are charcuterie and cheeses that actually are even in the stores at room temperature. So don't be nervous about trying them out, because there are just ways that they're processed that it's okay. You're gonna be safe and you're gonna be okay. So I'm not giving the green light to just leave it out all hours of the night. Just saying, try it out at room temperature and keep an eye on it and make sure that you give it a go. All right, we're here at the bonus tips, and I'm really excited for these two because one of them is like a tip / I'm gonna challenge you. But the first tip, number 11, is be picky about your ingredients. Be educated about your ingredients. So I am a firm believer of looking at the ingredients of your meat and cheese. Where are they at? Are you in the dairy aisle versus the cheese aisle? those are the same thing. Dairy aisle versus the deli section. Or, you know, like in a Whole Foods, are you again in the cheese section where they kind of have all the shredded cheese and sliced cheese? Or are you in the artisanal cheese area? Because generally, some are going to be highly processed and others are going to come in its most beautiful organic form as possible. So whether you have the option to go to an artisanal section of your store or not, just look at the ingredients. Are they adding food coloring? Are they, you know, is it organic or grass-fed or not? I mean, even those sometimes just have some icky ingredients, but I think it just changes the quality of food, and also you're ingesting it. You're giving it to your guests. I'm a firm believer of reading ingredients, having them usually under 5, which I know is challenging, but still do your best to try. They just taste better. And I think the same thing goes with charcuterie. I never buy charcuterie with nitrates or nitrites in it. I don't like those ingredients. So it's actually really simple to find them without. So I'm not even worried to tell you don't use those ingredients because you have a plethora of options when it comes to charcuterie. Tip number 12 or / challenge is be adventurous. I do always try with each board that I'm making to add one thing, whatever it might be, that is new, that I've never tasted or never seen before. And you'd be surprised how educated you get as you add these new things on one by one. So I still have so many different items that I've never tried before just because there are so many. So even if you have everything on your board that you know you love, I always highly recommend adding one more thing, purchasing one item every time that is new, because it's gonna broaden your senses and your mind and body. Okay, this is getting really over the top. It's just meat and cheese. But I'm just saying, it's gonna make us more cultured. I don't know. Anyway, just try something. It's good. Obviously, I needed to stop right there because I was getting way too excited about how cheese and meat is going to change your life. So 10 tips, 2 bonus ones. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to see how they play out in real life, go check out my playlist. I have a ton of different charcuterie board ideas for you to check out on my channel. Make sure to subscribe. I will see you in the next one.